Hey, what's up, friend? Do you use Duolingo to learn languages? What if I told you that there are far greater methods that we can utilize to learn a new language? In this video, we're going to be talking about why Duolingo sucks, why it's bad, and why most serious learners do not use it. And then, to give you some better methods, I'll tell you about some of the methods that I use to learn foreign languages. If you don't know me already, my name is Benji, and I make these videos so that English learners will have videos of comprehensible input so they can listen to content from a native speaker and still understand it. If this type of content is helpful for you, give it a like so that YouTube knows what kind of people want to see my videos. Without any further ado, let's jump into the episode. So, why does Duolingo suck? Why do I say this? Well, I got a whole list of reasons, so let's jump right into them. Number one, Duolingo teaches us insanely slow. It's just undeniable. You can learn quicker with other methods. It does this by teaching us unnecessary words, all of these ridiculous phrases, and by repeatedly showing us the same words over and over again. Anytime I ask my father about his progress learning Spanish, he tells me manzanas. Why does he say manzanas? Because he's making fun, he's joking about the fact that Duolingo has told him the word manzana 1,000,000 times. So much that that's about the only word that he knows. And apart from that, they teach us stupid, weird phrases that make no sense and we're not gonna connect with. For example, I did not hear you because I have cinnamon rolls in my ears. And crime fell after the chicken became prime minister. And maybe you're saying, come on, Benji. They're teaching us the word order, they're teaching us some vocabulary. Maybe this sentence doesn't make sense, but we could still use the words in the future to craft our own sentences. That's true. However, I would like to point out that we learn language best whenever we read sentences that we connect with, whenever it's important to us, when it triggers an emotion or makes us feel personally connected to the text. So, unless you like putting cinnamon rolls in your ears, I don't know how you're gonna connect to these sentences. But this isn't just it. It's not just crazy sentences. With Duolingo, we never get to hear native speakers. A tiny story. When I began learning Spanish, I was learning with Duolingo. I heard the phrase, ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás? And then I met somebody who spoke Spanish. They were from Puerto Rico. I said, hey, I have been learning Spanish. Do you want to practice? And I said, ¿Cómo estás? And they said, Estoy bien. ¿Cómo estás tú? ¿Y de dónde eres? That was like a different language from what Duolingo had taught me. You see, this is the problem. There's a huge difference between the written language and the standard language to whenever we start talking about real native speech. And as long as you're not hearing native speech, you'll never be able to understand it. Period. Furthermore, language isn't just about words and grammatical complexities. Language is about people. It's about culture. It's about connecting with that culture. But with Duolingo, for example, if you're learning Spanish, you would think that there is no culture, that it's all one, it's just one Spanish-speaking people. They don't teach you anything about culture. But If you learn on your own, if you search for your own content in the target language, you're going to understand how beautiful the culture really is. And Duolingo does a terrible job at showing us the beautiful people that speak the language that we're learning. The last thing that I'll mention is that the streaks suck. The streaks are terrible. They're like a drug. But the streak doesn't teach you a language. It just gets you addicted to Duolingo. And from my experience, the higher the streak that somebody has, the worse they speak a language. I have never met one person who has a big streak and has learned a language from it. My point, progress should be focus number one, not how many days you've spent on Duolingo. So what should we do to improve if we're not going to use Duolingo? Personally, I learn a lot through music, reading lyrics and listening to music over and over again. I call this the RRSL technique. Next, I journal. Daily, I keep a journal in my target language. Here's an example of a journal that I've already filled up, and here's another one. Basically, at the end of the day, I just write about how my day was, my hopes and goals for tomorrow, and what I could have done better. I write this all in my target language using Google Translate. Eventually, I get to a point where I no longer need to use Google Translate. Next, if you want an app to use Busuu. Trust me, give it a try. It's extremely well put together, and the courses are intense, fast-paced, and full of very valuable information. Plus, they'll actually tell you about the culture of the people that speak the language. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Next, read stories. Now, I usually recommend The Fable Cottage. Personally, I've had great experiences with them. I don't pay for their premium plan. I don't think it's needed. You can get it by just with the free stories. Next, watch comprehensible input videos, just like this one. I watch videos like this video in French every single day. At least twice a day, I watch a video like this one in my target language. Next, travel, if you can. Listen, when I started learning Spanish, I had no idea. I thought traveling is so expensive, I won't be able to do that anytime soon. But what happened? The opportunity arose, and it wasn't as expensive as I thought it was going to be. If you work your hardest, I promise you'll get the opportunity to travel. So just keep it in mind. Maybe it's not going to happen today, maybe it's not going to happen tomorrow, but you'll get an opportunity to travel too. And next, until you travel, speak with a partner. Speak with a language partner and practice your skills. I personally use HelloTalk. There's also Tandem. I'll leave a link in the description to a review that talks about Tandem and HelloTalk. So if you want to know which one's better, you can go check that out. It'll be in the description. The truth is, Duolingo can help you, but it can also destroy you if you use it too much. I've seen people using it exclusively, and it's never a good idea. It never leads them to fluency. And usually because of this lack of progress, they end up quitting. And it's super sad to see. That's why I don't like Duolingo. That's why it sucks. Because it drives people away from learning languages. Because they don't progress enough. And then they lose motivation. If you love it so much that you want to continue using it, go ahead. But I promise you that if you use it exclusively, it will be a problem. So maybe try and use it 10 or 15 minutes a day and spend time studying using other materials such as music or journaling or comprehensible input videos or Busuu, whatever you want. But use some of your time to do other things. If you got any value from this video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out more than you can imagine. And if you want to get some reading practice, I'll leave a link in the description to an article that I wrote about this subject so that you can get some practice reading in English. Have a wonderful day, evening, or night, whatever it is where you're at. My name is Benji with Acquire the Language. Bye.